I always figured leaving the city would mean fewer headaches, no traffic jams, no posturing at company meetings, no forced small talk over weak coffee with people you'd cross the street to avoid. Just real work, honest sweat, the kind of quiet you can't even find in the fancy meditation apps these days. That's the dream I sold myself. When I walked away from my career as a geodetic engineer and moved out to take over my grandfather's farm, all 120 acres of it, Kansas cornfields stretching wider than the main drag of most towns. Corn was my new job, and peace, or so I thought. That was before the vultures came, though I didn't know they were vultures at first. They looked like they'd stepped off the cover of a Live Well, Do Good magazine, Patagonia vests, bright canvas totes, shoes too clean for real dirt. Leading the pack was a woman straight out of a designer garden ad. Pressed blouse, blonde bob that never saw a windstorm, and eyes sharp enough to spot a misplaced comma at 50 yards. Karen Stevens, president of the Golden Plains HOA. You could tell she ran things just by the way her shadow fell across my field. She talked a lot about community, eco-initiatives, collaboration, the works. All the buzzwords, none of the calluses. She pitched her proposal right in the middle of my corn, like she owned the zip code. Wanted weekly deliveries, corn, greens, free-range eggs, the good stuff, in exchange for being featured in their community newsletter and website. I'll never forget the look on her face when I asked, "So you want me to give you thousands of dollars and produce for a shout-out?" She didn't even blink. Exactly. And we'll call you a core contributor to the Golden Plains Ecosystem Initiative. The sort of opportunity that gets you applause at a board meeting and bankruptcy at tax time. I let her down easy, told her I didn't have any interest in bartering my living for internet points, and walked her group back to the fence. She didn't protest, just smiled tighter, tilted her head like she was memorizing my flaws, and said, "That's unfortunate. We really hoped you'd see the bigger picture." Then they left, like a retreating missionary party, all branded water bottles and polite disappointment. A week later, an envelope showed up. Fancy gold trim, official HOA seal, my name on the front. Inside, a notice of inclusion, community zone expansion, claiming my land was now within the sphere of influence of the Golden Plains HOA, effective immediately. No legal teeth, just bureaucratic fluff and vague threats about harmonizing with community values. I laughed, then forwarded it to my lawyer, just in case. He confirmed what I already knew, worthless. But I didn't leave it there. I filed a harassment notice with the county, copied the sheriff, and upgraded my security. Motion sensors, trip lines, thermal cams, drone feeds, the works. Not paranoia, just experience. You don't live on open land without learning to protect it. Still, I hoped it would end there. Hoped Karen and her band of kombucha crusaders would move on to softer targets. But hope, as you probably know, is a bad security plan. I was at an irrigation expo in Wichita when it happened. Left in the afternoon, figured I'd be back by sunrise. Left the dogs with my neighbor. Didn't think twice. But at 3:27 a.m., my phone lit up, motion detected, zone south, unscheduled access. I checked the feed. For unmarked flatbeds, no visible plates, no company logos, snaking in off a dirt road and lighting up my crops like they were looking for buried treasure. A dozen people in reflective vests hopped out, moving with military efficiency. No contractor I ever saw work that fast, especially not in the dark. They unloaded pallet after pallet of cement. Not just dumping it, pouring it, slow and careful, right into my irrigation ditches, row by row, covering my fresh sprouts with a smooth layer of gray. One guy even broomed the surface, like he was frosting a cake. I sat there, jaw clenched, helpless, watching a month's work get smothered in silence. By the time they left, my southern field was a 3-acre graveyard. I drove home before dawn, boots crunching on dried concrete where my corn should have been. Sprinkler risers ripped out, drone stations sprayed with solvent. They tried to kill my backup cameras too, but I'd wired them to a private line. Called the sheriff, then insurance, then my lawyer. The cops took one look at the footage and realized they were out of their depth. Insurance adjuster whistled through his teeth. Immediate loss, $130,000 minimum. That didn't even count environmental remediation. Turns out concrete leaches more than just hope from soil. It poisons everything underneath. Fixing it would take months and a small fortune. I didn't wait for apologies. I started digging for answers. The video got me two partial plates. A retired buddy from the Department of Transportation ran them. Trucks leased by a shell company, EcoFix LLC, out of Topeka. A quick web search gave me nothing but a barebones page with a green leaf logo and a fake mission statement. Registry search. Owner, Kyle Stevens. Karen's nephew. Because of course, I guess the family that schemes together stays together. That night, sitting on my porch with a bottle of rye and a freeze-framed image of Kyle in a yellow vest, smoothing concrete into my ditch, I knew two things. First, they weren't getting away with it. Second, they were dumb enough to leave a trail. And oh boy, what a trail. Turns out EcoFix had contracted through another shell, Earth Sage Alliance, a nonprofit registered in Delaware, with Karen and Kyle running the show. IRS records showed federal grants for soil remediation, already claimed as completed, using my forged signature. My name, on documents I'd never seen, authorizing the very sabotage that had just gutted my fields. I forwarded it all to my lawyer, the USDA, and the EPA, just for good measure. Then the twist hit me. Karen and her cronies had also built a fake website in my name, selling CSA subscriptions to her HOA residents, produce I never agreed to provide, money I never saw. I even emailed the site pretending to be a local customer, got a canned response, and traced the reply back to Karen's IP. So, there I was, watching Karen prep a fraud narrative, taking real money, and lining up a story to hang me as the villain. Only now I had her video, paper, digital fingerprints, and a forged signature on a federal grant. And just when you think you've seen it all, she went public, setting up a booth at a local expo, banners reading, "Know where your food comes from," passing out flyers showing concrete-choked cornfields, blaming rogue farmers for soil toxicity, offering refunds to people who'd signed up through the fake site. She was spinning my destruction as charity. I didn't bite. I walked over to the K-State booth, borrowed a field testing kit, and invited 3 USDA agronomists to run tests right there on the expo floor, live on camera, from untouched parts of my land. Results were clean. I posted the footage, side by side with Karen's lies, on my real website and every social page I had. The story went viral. Concrete corn trended for a hot minute. You'd think after all that, Karen would back off. Nah. Some people, they mistake escalation for control. I went to my lawyer, Colleen Reyes, best legal street fighter I know, and handed her everything. She smiled, said, "We're going nuclear." Within 3 days, we filed a civil suit for everything from vandalism to wire fraud, impersonation, and environmental sabotage, damages north of $380,000. We flagged the EPA, which kicked off a federal investigation for unpermitted dumping on agricultural land. At the same time, Colleen filed a restraining order and asset freeze on the HOA. Our logic? If Karen could funnel tens of thousands through fake nonprofits, she could make the money vanish unless someone stepped in. The judge agreed. Within 2 days, the HOA's accounts were frozen, and residents started asking the questions they should have asked months ago. Where did our dues go? Who voted for this? Why did we only hear about it on the news? Karen held an emergency board meeting, tried to spin it all as a misunderstanding, but the minutes leaked. She'd signed everything herself, forged digital board approvals, even made up entire meetings. 2 board members resigned. One of them, a retired engineer, went public. Karen acted alone. I warned her. She didn't listen. Then the EPA notice hit. Clean Water Act violations, preliminary fines, pending investigation. News broke statewide. HOA president accused of eco-sabotage. Drone footage on TV. One of the vests in the video, clear as day, had the HOA logo. Karen tried a last-ditch move, showed up at my door, rain coming down sideways, silver Lexus gleaming, wearing a smile you could hang laundry on. She offered a check, $30,000 from her own account, plus a pre-filled grant application, in exchange for me withdrawing my claims and calling it all a mutual misunderstanding. I handed the check straight to the DA. They added bribery and obstruction to the charges. That week, the forensic audit landed like a grand piano from the 3rd floor. Over $120,000 funneled through fake nonprofits, educational seminars that never happened, all tied to Karen and Kyle. The HOA imploded. Residents started recall petitions. Signs went up. No more Karenomics. And then, twist number 2. I got a call from Allison Novak, the HOA's treasurer. She'd been keeping copies of every shady transaction, every deleted memo, every red-flagged payment. She came forward, ready to testify, and handed my lawyer a thumb drive full of proof. The case was ironclad now. When we hit court, it was standing room only. Karen, dressed for a sympathy card photo shoot, tried to play the victim. Her lawyer looked like he was regretting law school. The judge saw through it in minutes. Our evidence was overwhelming. Forged signatures, board minutes, emails, drone footage, even an audio clip of Karen telling Kyle, "If he won't give us corn, he doesn't get to keep it either." The concrete's clean. It'll look like erosion prevention. The courtroom buzzed. News outlets exploded. EPA and DOJ filed criminal charges: wire fraud, conspiracy, environmental crimes, forgery, nonprofit abuse. The HOA was dissolved, its tax status revoked, accounts frozen. Karen, Kyle, and 2 board members arrested. Karen pled out for 12 years, no parole for 5. Kyle got 7. The rest, probation, and a lifetime HOA ban. In the end, the Real win didn't come with a check or a press release. It came one quiet morning as I stood at the edge of my southern field, boots in the dirt, most of the concrete finally gone, new corn pushing through. I left a scar where nothing grows, set a metal sign in the ground. No corn grows here, but greed is buried 6 feet deep. The USDA asked me to join a task force on rural security and HOA overreach. Yeah, that happened. I poured a glass of rye, watched the wind ripple through healthy stalks, and listened to the silence I'd earned. No alarms, no sabotage, no more vultures. Did I get revenge? Not really. I got something better. I got peace. Now, you tell me, was that justice or just the best I could hope for? Drop your take below, because in a world this crazy, sometimes the lines between right and wrong are a whole lot like property lines, invisible, until somebody tries to cross them.